Fuel prices are dropping finally, after months of record-breaking prices of gallon. This correction in prices can be seen as a short-term or long-term relief. Can prices go even lower than what are they now, and what caused this jump in prices? In this video, we will try to explain why fuel prices skyrocketed in the first place and will they drop to normal levels soon. I would like to start with one example that will clarify the story behind this historical high prices. First, let's take a look what countries are the biggest producers of oil in the world. As you can see, the United States is the first and largest producer of oil, which means any slight move in supply and demand would be felt for a longer period of time. Biggest countries tend to produce oil as much as possible, so we come to question what happens when smaller producers have problems supplying their part to this market. Now let's take a look what normal supply and demand look like. As you can see, fuel production and fuel consumption in the world is perfectly aligned, which means that if you spend 10 gallons, you could buy 10 gallons for the same price. Now, let's take a look at the 2007 case. Here is a graph that shows how much supply and demand can affect the oil market. In a matter of weeks affected by few critical events, fuel prices jumped to by then historical high. Year 2007 is perfect example how vulnerable oil market really is. Firstly, Venezuela cut sales to major oil companies. Secondly, Scottish oil workers went to strike. Furthermore, Iraqi pipelines were destroyed by saboteurs, and finally, Nigerian production was affected by military attacks. How all of this changed market? As you can see, perfectly aligned supply and demand shifted, and now in a matter of weeks there was not enough fuel to power the whole world. So by the law of market, oil prices skyrocketed to an all-time high. It was felt throughout the world, and this was one of the reasons that made world crises in 2008 worst. Looking back to 2021, we had major problems that affected the world due to coronavirus and supply chain issue. Therefore, oil market was affected also and fuel prices jumped, but with delay. Now we can feel what consequences this caused to global market as fuel prices reached all-time high few months ago. So we now understand that as soon as supply and demand is not in order, prices will go up or down. If you have extra fuel that cannot be used, prices will go down. On the other hand, if you have less fuel, prices will go up. But is it really that simple? Yes and no. If we take a look at US, you can see that past year production and consumption was very similar. So by explanation before a few minutes ago, if supply and demand is same, there shouldn't be any price jumps or downs. But here is a catch. Tiny percentage of fuel is being imported from other countries to the USA. Being minimal, you would think it won't affect prices, but it surely does. Secondly, new regulations by many states to add more biofossil fuels when producing gas or diesel is increasing cost per gallon, and since agriculture was in real problem during COVID, cost of bio-additives jumped to extraordinary levels. Which means cost per gallon is also larger. Now when we can better understand what was happening with market, we can take a look and see why California has the highest prices of all states. As we all know, California is one of the most eco countries. They are trying to lower usage of fossil fuels and be as green as possible, so tax for oil is biggest in California area, which represents 11% of price when petrol or diesel reaches gas station. Secondly, California is separated from American suppliers by two huge geographical factors, which leaves California only one option: to get fuel from ports. Tankers carry 95% of fuel that comes to California. That type of transportation is really expensive and really slow, which means that only way for the state to profit from oil is by raising taxes. States on which soil fuel is produced tend to have the lowest prices since transportation costs are at minimum. So what we can expect in future? Will prices go down or up? USA has signed contract with European countries to export some amount of fuel to them. So until war ends, we cannot expect huge drops in price of oil, since every gallon that would pile up now won't, since we will export it and sell it to EU. My personal thinking is when war ends, at least 20% of fuel that is now produced won't have use, so prices will drop for short term. To conclude, prices in future will continue to slowly go up with some downs and jumps in market, since a lot more ingredients are being added to diesel and gas to reduce pollution. So as a time goes by, oil market will highly depend on other industries, which will make it even more unstable. We really appreciate your time watching this video. Please consider subscribing. See you next time.